did you go for foster care?
So foster care initially, they started me in Compton. It just didn't last long. But they just put me like way on the other side of it in a place I wasn't familiar with too, because you know Compton is so territorial. I never really went outside of where I came from. But yeah, and then it didn't last. Like I was in there for a few months, and then they shot me way to Long Beach. I'd never been in Long Beach in my life.
Hmm.
I didn't know where in Long Beach I was. So that lasted for a while. Then they shot me way damn near to Pasadena somewhere. You know, I was all over the place in foster care. Yeah.
Well, one thing, until I moved here, I didn't really understand how close Compton and Long Beach are.
Yeah.
So was that purely a opportunity thing? You never gone to Long Beach? Was it gang reasons? Was it all the above? Nothing of that? Something
I
different?
was just a child. So, I mean, if I didn't go by, you know, by virtue of my parents or an adult, how the hell I'm gonna get to Long Beach? You know what I
Well, no,
mean?
I'm just saying, like, none of your family had family in Long Beach because
I
it's
mean, we did,
pretty
but for some
close.
reason, it's like everybody. My great grandparents' house was like, you know, as far as my family, that's that's like the how can I say? It's just the place where everybody came. You know what I'm saying?
The
So
hub.
everybody else came to Compton. You know,
Right.
they came from Venice area, they came from Long Beach, they came from Watts, they came from Deep South Central, and then some from even out of state. You know what I'm saying? Everybody would come to my great grandparents' house because that, you know, she was the matriarch of the family, so everybody just came there. And we never really went all these other. If we did, I was so young that I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, you know, sitting in the back seat, just looking out the window as a kid. You don't know what the hell you. You
I've
don't
been
know
there
what the
before, that's for
hell.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you're starting to write your raps
Hmm.
and you're looking at N.W.A and Eazy-E, are you writing like them or are you writing your own, more your own style or what?
Well, yeah, initially it was mimicking their style. I think everybody started off like that. You know, especially when you was young, you would take somebody's rap and then you would insert your own words in place of theirs. So
Mhm.
it was that first. And then once you get a hold of it, then you start coming up with your own style. Yeah. It
And
was like that.
who in N.W.A did you gravitate toward lyrically the most?
All of them.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
all of them. They like together, even though like you know they had songs initially where it was only, you know, Ren had his solo songs on there, Ice Cube had his certain solo songs on there, Ren and Dre did a lot of stuff together back to back, Compton in the House and stuff like that. But bro, it was like, and then when they incorporated the D.O.C and they did like parental
Parental
discretion is
discretion.
advised, and man, bro, all of that stuff, bro, like it was all dope to me. I knew Cube was the more force. He had the more forceful voice to me. Like his voice was more, like he was really like he was like almost like a Busta Rhymes kind of. You know what I'm saying? And I just think like you can kind of tell he was like drive. He was like the one who was driving N.W.A. He was like driving the car, the N.W.A car. But all of them, bro. Easy, and then Easy with his unique sound. That was it, bro. Like that's why I looked up to him because he would come in at the end most of the time, and then he got the coldest voice out of everybody. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was him for me out of everybody. Yeah,
Yeah, I think they each, again, I didn't really think about it at the time. I was just loving the music, but each one of them had very distinct personalities. If you listen to it a little bit later or now, that
yeah,
I didn't really notice or pay attention to as a kid, other than I noticed that Easy was hilarious
yeah,
and super gangster at the same time, which I always loved his verses, even on like the last song of the grand finale, because he was just so funny. But
yeah.
but anyway, so with that being said, um, one thing I was always curious and everything when you started getting around or when you ended up being with Eazy-E, had you already signed to Outburst and that's why you weren't on Ruthless or how?
No, so initially we meet Easy E late '92.
Okay.
Late '92. We going into the studio. My brother kind of, like I said, my brother, he went there first. I came like the second time we actually went, and so now we're around, and the music. I end up getting on Real Compton City G's and that, and then the music comes out, And so the guys who actually brought us to Eazy was two guys he was raised up with. You know, they was young in the drug game and things like that, and they were trying to get out. So Eazy allowed them to form a label, and because they the ones who brought us in, we were signing through them to Ruthless. So a
Mm,
subsidiary of Ruthless. It was called Toenail Records.
mm,
Toenail was an acronym for two ordinary day, two old ordinary day niggas acting illegally or some shit like that, you know. So it was like Toenail, Ruthless, and then whatever the distributing label was like that. And so the record, because we didn't initially sign, we didn't sign, we did the record before we signed.
mm.
We did all this afterward, you know. So he could have got over on us if he wanted to, you know what I mean? But he did it. We ended up getting the paperwork right, and then somewhere in between us, you know, out there traveling and things like that, they fall apart. Them and Eazy fall out, and we're stuck in contract to them and him. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And so the outburst thing came was at a time when we were trying to get from up under that because we was kind of just in limbo for a year. You know what I mean? That's why no projects followed real
Right.
after City G's and things like that. So Greedy Greg, Anti Lewis, they come in. They lawyer found some kind of loop, like some kind of clause to allow us to get out. So that's how we ended up signing the outburst. Yeah, slash Def Jam.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Now back to real motherfucking G's. So with that, um, many questions. First of all, I think it's hard for people to understand how like dominant N.W.A was at the time,
Mm-hmm.
especially even though they had broken up, and then the fact that Dre was having all this success with the Chronic. So, did you, uh, knowing him aside, did it ever cross your mind like, oh man, we're going with the dude that's not on top right now? These dudes are like bigger than N.W.A. Nah.
Nah, hell nah. Nah.
Okay.
Even though, you know, look, I listened to the Chronic when it first came out, and I was jocking it. I was liking the new artist, Snoop Dogg, Das Corrupt, you know what I'm saying, Lady of Rage. All of them was so dope to me, you know what I mean? I'm like, damn, you know, he done found some good little youngsters out there, right? So we get to Eazy. I know you know, coming around him and then being with him, going places, going to his office, bro. I'm like, this dude, he ain't down as they probably thought he was. All he needed was what Dre found. He just needed some young, fresh talent. You know what I mean? But he still was the guy. You know what I mean? So I never looked at it like, nah, I'm coming in as an underdog or anything like that. I didn't look at it like that. Nope.
Okay.
But I did think about like, damn, I'm like, it's Dr. Dre though. Cause you know what I'm saying? Because Dre is
Right.
N.W.A as well. So I'm like, damn, how this going? You know, I used to have them thoughts like, man, I wonder how this gonna turn out. Cause I'm a fan of this guy too. You know what I mean?
Well, tied into that, did you ever, not knowing all the personal stuff, did you guys ever feel like, man, this isn't even our beef, but we're dissing these dudes, or
Yeah, we
you?
had the conversations in the studio. Like, you know, my brother was more articulate, and he was older than me, more outspoken. So he would ask Easy about a bunch of different things. Like, what's the issue, man? Like, you know what I'm saying? Why are we even doing this in the first place? You know what I'm saying? But me, I used to just sit back and just listen, and I'm just like, you know, I'm just one of them type of people that if I come in and if I come somewhere with you, you know what I'm saying, I'm leaving with you type shit. You know what I mean? So once he told us, man, like, you know, this, that, and the third, we was like, okay, fuck it then. This is what it's just gonna be, you know what I mean? And we ain't think twice after that, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And another thing that I always thought was interesting too is taking it back a little bit. Cube, in particular, when he joined the Nation of Islam, was very big about cutting his curl, and a lot of people had, made fun of Easy for having a curl, and then you still had your curl in the video,
Yeah.
and around that time, did you ever catch any heat for that yourself at the time?
Nah, we like on the West Coast, we everybody still had them, you know what I mean? My whole neighborhood, whoever had long hair pretty much had a Jerry curl. All across South Central. We still was rocking them. The only time that became a thing is when we finally went on tour and we went to New York. and we on the train station, we could hear the snickering and the laughing, you know what I'm saying? But we didn't give a shit. We was mobbing with ours, you know what I mean? So that's the only time I ever heard that even come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because because obviously other people had dissed Jerry Curls in songs and stuff
Yeah.
outside of the West Coast artists themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I just was always curious because Cube doing it was such a, to me, a big deal. And in the sense that he was not only leaving Ruthless behind, but like seemingly the mentality of that level of the street stuff.
Yeah, bro. We was so, it's let me just tell you, like for people that's pretty much ingrained so deep into the streets, they can't see outside of that shit. So that shit didn't register with people from the streets. Like, you had to have a little bit more intelligence to understand that, like the way you explained it. But bro, we were so lost in them streets like that. We didn't give a shit about what Cube was doing, bro. That shit didn't appeal to it didn't appeal to us. Cause we didn't
Right.
understand it. You know what I'm saying? We was like, okay, yeah, the Nation of Islam, Farrakhan, right on and all that. But we wasn't trying to rock that. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't pushing that. Yeah.